be. It's working.
And I think if you just end the meeting and end for all,
Okay.
should be done, and then, you just shut the computer down
Sure can.
and shut off the TVs.
Oh, that up there? I give them out somewhere.
Oh, yeah, here's
Okay.
the, yeah. So just do,
Do
you know,
that too.
shut down on the windows and the,
Take care of that. There's no. Shut down the TV.
perfect.
It's easy enough. Hasn't joined yet.
In Virginia, I wonder how much snow he got.
Almost.
Yeah, that's for sure. Doing so hot, early.
Right. It's rain this spring.
But I think we'll have a better hope that
Pretty much walk on the bottom of the lake, almost out to the end of the dam.
Yeah. Plus the ferry issues come March and April.
Yeah.
Working over the dock so far. I got one year when I was solo, you would drive up.
There's a
Can't have a happy medium anymore.
pretty well loaded truck and trailer that really had a hard time getting off of the point day before yesterday. Backside. Out.
Yeah.
Llewellyn, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Great. Hi, Llewellyn. We can hear you.
Hi, guys.
How much snow do you have?
A lot. Well, for here, Washington just closes down. The whole thing, all schools, everything just closes. They've got, the roads are fairly clear, icy now. They just kind of fall apart when it snows though.
Right, it's 4:30.
Let me start my recording.
Town of LaPointe Planning and Zoning Town Plan Commission, regular monthly meeting, Wednesday, January 8th, 2025, 4:30 PM. Call to order, roll call.
Dale Whitaker.
Charles Brummer.
Jim Peters. Paul Wilharm.
So so check.
Public comment, less than 1 minute. Connie.
This is a letter I wrote to the board, in response to your response, to me. That's me. Dear TPC board members, I just wanted to respond to your response to the letter I sent in November. I was very disappointed and found your response to be very cold, impersonal, and insincere. I feel very strongly that the integrity of the island needs to be maintained and guarded. The community is counting on this board to uphold the integrity of the island and its laws. This board is the watchdog for activities going on in the county. It is a big responsibility and an important one. This board is also responsible for finding funding for housing. It's been needed for a very long time. The area that I am referring to in this whole situation is a very small area of the island. It is the area that is zoned R1 and R3. It also happens to be the area where the first inhabitants that we know of settled and lived. We are still finding relics and artifacts in that area. There are two very historic and sacred cemeteries in the area as well. This is a very important part of Madeline Island history. The historical markers remind us of it. I was a former president of the Madeline Island Historical Preservation Association. I'm a member of the Friends of the Madeline Island Museum, and a lifelong resident who has seen many changes over my 72 years. I will do whatever it takes to preserve whatever I can that has any historical value and try to, as I stated before, maintain the integrity of the island. I have done some research on zoning ordinance in other Wisconsin towns, and that includes one with this letter. I thought it might be helpful for you to see how other towns handle the situation I'm referring to. I also feel that trailers, campers, mobile homes, and RVs are temporary homes, and once they are placed on the island, never leave. I'm sure we could find a few scattered in the woods that are just decaying. Many properties have several abandoned mobile homes. They are very toxic and are not good for the environment in the long run. It's just not worth it to let this happen to a beautiful place, which we need to protect. Is it worth it just so someone can have a cheap place to stay in the summer? After all, the ordinance that has been adopted by this board states that this board will promote public health, safety, convenience, and general welfare to further the maintenance of safe and healthful conditions, to prevent and control water pollution, to protect spawning grounds, fish, and aquatic life, to control building sites, placement of structures and land uses, to prevent overcrowding of any natural resource. The ordinance is not intended to prevent development, but it is intended to ensure that development occurs in an orderly manner so as to recognize and respect existing land uses. That's your purpose statement. I have placed my name on the waiting list to be on the TPC board, and I look forward to being able to give some input when you revise the zoning laws. I hope you keep this letter and the one I sent in November in mind. Sincerely, Constance Tyler Law. And attached is zoning ordinance and my husband who was the zoning when the zoning laws were written. He was the president of the zoning board. He knows there was a law very similar to this one regarding trailers. In the ordinance is somewhere where people can have a trailer, use it for 60 days, show that that they're making progress on a building. And then if they can get another permit. But they have to show progress on the structure. And it's in there somewhere, and I suggest that Ed find it. Go back in the archives to the early 90s, when they were writing these laws, and find it. Please.
Thank you, Connie.
And I
You have a copy?
Ed, can you send me a copy of Connie's letter? She was muffled. I had trouble hearing her.
Yes.
Thank you.
Approval of previous minutes?
Make a motion to approve the town planning commission regular monthly meeting minutes of 12/4/2024.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Zoning administrators report, written and verbal report.
I didn't have much of an error in that, I think, with that one, but, with all the figures. We had 2 permits in the last month. Yeah.
I need a copy of that too, Ed. I don't have it.
I believe I emailed it to you today.
I don't think you did. You sent me something, but that wasn't with it. Anytime you think about it, send it out.
Old business?
Definitely old business.
Nothing? New business, Edison?
I believe it's medicine.
Okay, Edison CSM, discussion, recommendation to town board.
Looks like it meets all the requirements for area and frontage and things like that. One question I was looking at in the ordinance though, is they have a matrix at the back that show how to measure, mean lot width, and with this triangular lot, it only brings up, and I know I've had this question in the past about what the front is obviously North Shore Road, but what's the rear, what's the side, or is there two sides to that triangular lot? How would you read that?
Yeah,
And this is not the first one. I know
Yeah.
there's been others, and it's
Yeah,
always been a
and
conundrum.
before we get into any further discussion, could you tell me how I can turn that fan off?
Same way.
Got it, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Well, I was commenting on lot one on the CSM about, it's a triangular lot. Obviously, they have enough frontage along North Shore Road and the acreage is fine. But, my question is, and this has come up before, is what are the sides, the rear, or is there two sides and no rear? Is that the lot line on the south, the rear, and the other one's the side? I just wanted to see what everyone else on this commission thought of that going forward, because that only comes into play when you have setback. And obviously the rear and the side are different when it comes to setback.
Yeah, when this comes to the point, they can't measure a setback from there because they're
Right.
not gonna meet the front and the rear,
Exactly.
so they've got to get it far enough away from that to meet the front and rear setbacks.
I'm just saying if there's a 40-yard setback, say to the rear or 50 to the side or whatever it is, and it's different, then who makes a determination what's the side and what's the rear? That's my only question.
Right. Yeah, I think there is something but I don't have that in front of me. About irregular shape.
Yeah, and I looked at it.
I just looked at it, I didn't see anything that
That's fine.
Yeah, that doesn't explain in that, non-conform, or not, just irregular.
Regular shaped lots, yeah.
Which is side, which is front, or whatever. There's no.
Well, maybe it's something that we should keep in the back of our minds. Or it's just a case by case basis, just something that
I would,
piques my interest.
I would
How would you?
interpret it as, when you don't know, look at the lot adjacent.
And if that's the side, then that's the side. So that would
This
be
is the back,
side.
then this is the back. But you got a problem if the lot adjacent over here is shaped this way,
Mhm.
and this is the back.
Well, that makes,
But otherwise,
well, that makes as much sense as anything, I guess. Yeah.
Would that change things if we flip flopped on what's the side and what's the rear on this?
Well, only with setbacks. Because setbacks are different from when you measure setbacks to the rear and to the side.
Right.
That's, and then maybe it's the zoning administrator has to make that final determination, or we do, when it comes to that point, when someone builds it. That's my only point.
Do you have any suggestions on how we could address that in zoning ordinance?
I kind of like Bill's suggestion, if the side on the adjacent lot is that one to the east, if I'm looking at this properly, lot 2, that would be their side, obviously. So then the rear would be the back lot line, which is on the south end of this.
But if you had property owners on both of those adjacent lot lines, then how do you determine which is back and which is side?
then it's arbitrary.
This one I can see, I would agree with Dale that that's how that would be determined.
Yeah,
But if
Unless
there's
it's
property
corner.
owners on both
I mean, it's
sides,
just a case by case basis, but it's something that's not addressed clearly in the ordinance. Maybe.
Yeah,
it
I don't-
can,
I don't-
I don't know.
really off the top of my head can think of any good language you could put in there that would address that.
Well, I don't think it affects this. I just wanted
No.
to point it out.
No.
Yeah, I understand that, but in the
It does
future,
really restrict building, way over on this part of the lot.
Yeah, I think so on the west side.
I think you're right that it would just be a case by case basis when it would come up before us on a permit that we'd look at it.
Okay. Just wanted, and I think the guy's scale is way off. I don't know if anyone else noticed that, but the scale on the bottom, if you look at,
Yeah.
I mean, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
For a surveyor, I don't know, he must have paid.
Must have.
Well, it isn't Nelson, it's Pine Ridge.
I see that. You dealt with them?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's way off.
I got a couple questions too on his application under zoning zoning districts. On the, actually, there's
Oh, that's a good question.
the top where it says zoning districts and he circles S1, then on the one down below zoning district, he circles W1, the possibility, and S1.
And it's definitely S1, but if, I'd have to find this on the map again. And, you know, look and see what exact district it's in.
Okay, because the problem that comes into play is W1 is 20-acre parcel.
Right. And
So if he's in W1,
we looked at this and I don't think this was in W. It's W1 was joint.
but I would hate to approve this and then have
Let me go
be in
if I can
W1.
find this on the map.
It would,
Pardon?
I'm just thinking it would have never been in W1 unless it was a non-conforming law.
Well, the problem is what S1 extends inland like 550 feet from North Shore Road. So
Right.
maybe a small corner of lot 3 could possibly, if there was a better scale, we could measure that real quick and figure it out. But that scale is so poor that you can't use a ruler and use that as a proper
Right,
scale.
and that section of the lot 3 is 660 feet deep. And the, you know, according to the measurements on the side of it there,
Right.
So if a sliver of this is in W1, how do we proceed?
the zone with the least restrictive, parcels in multiple zones are use the least restrictive zone.
Okay.
Least restrictive?
Least, yes. And you're probably only talking a little sliver here that might be in W. Okay, yeah.
I took that 556 feet, which is pretty close, and I come to that line right down there in that corner. On lot 3.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
about what I was figuring, yeah.
So it's certainly not much. It's probably, and he is over 3 acres, it's 3.1. Certainly lot 1 and 2 wouldn't be in W1. Maybe just that back little corner would be,
That's
S1.
yeah, S1, but that back little corner would be W1, but it'd be so minimal.
Well, if like Ed says, if they're in multiple districts, it's the least restrictive, so then it's not a problem. Yeah. The other question I have on page 2 of this, the Ashland County map. It's not signed by anybody, dated or signed. Is that normal?
Yes, we don't, nothing gets signed until after it gets past the town board. And then, the only signatures are on the application. This is the first page. You have the application. Yeah,
Yes, I'm getting that.
yeah, that's the only signatures from the homeowner. And once it's approved, then they all sign and pass it on to the surveyor to sign.
Okay, it strikes me as kind of odd that the surveyor is presenting this information, this document, unsigned,
Yeah.
waiting for the board to approve it, and then he signs it.
Right.
It's like,
They sign.
it's kind of after the fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the way they do it.
That's, every CSM we get is signed after.
Okay,
Would he correct the legend before it gets filed at the at the county?
I have no idea what happened.
on that scale.
Yeah.
Should do.
I guess as long as the numbers are there along the parcels.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's like drafting 101.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. Somebody should make mention.
That's the first thing I learned in high school drafting class. But wait, I'm not a surveyor, maybe rules change.
Well,
I'll make a motion to approve the Betson CSM and recommend to the town board.
I'll second.
discussion. Vote.
Aye.
Aye. Review land use applications.
I have one. For put a pad on and a commercial or a small building. The drawings in the back. And it's way in the middle of a huge lot. Nowhere near close to any setback.
What's the square footage?
It's 140 square feet,
How many copies of these do you get? No,
just one.
that's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Cause I know to speed things up, maybe one isn't a big deal, but so we all have time to look at this.
We had 3 or 4 of them.
I know it's a lot of
If you look
paper.
at that map at the back, you'll see his numbers on that for setbacks.
But this is the shed here.
Yeah,
That they're
yeah.
proposing. So it's not very large.
It's not in the shoreland,
It's in W one. Looks like, right? Or W two. W two, 5 acres.
Yeah.
in W2, Charlie?
Yeah.
Oh, setbacks look right.
They're well over 150 feet.
Yeah, by miles.
Yeah, shouldn't be a problem.
Measuring the setbacks in miles.
Gravel pad.
Yeah, otherwise setbacks are only 50 feet and 60 feet, so yeah, he certainly meets that.
I guess I'm just gonna show up a day or two before the meeting. And spend some time and review these, you know, unless people are in favor that. you know,
Well,
We wait.
just that one, it's not a big deal, but as we start getting 5, 6, 7, 8,
Yeah,
10.
Probably better before
I-
the meeting.
I'd hate, you know, I mean, it's a lot of paper to be photocopying this and putting it in everybody's box.
Times 5.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I asked how many copies are received normally.
You didn't see anything,
That one's a no-brainer.
Yeah, all the setbacks are way over 50 and 60 feet, so. That should be a pretty heavily wooded dry area there, right? So, wetland. Kind of familiar with that property. It's down Raymond Road off to the east, southeast.
yeah, Benjamin there.
If you were heading towards Andrew Eldred's house. That's pretty dry forested.
They're within 100 feet or 1,000 feet of the lake shore, aren't they?
No, not that one.
We could approve it contingent upon determining 1,000 feet to the lake.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I looked on the map and it's inland, it's not.
I mean, we used to do that. You approve something contingent upon Ashland County review if necessary.
I think there's a way to measure on the GIS site.
Yes, there is.
County GIS site, right?
Probably.
Right to the
And
foot.
you already did that?
Yeah, it seems like I remember looking that lot up and determining that they didn't need an Ashland County.
I'll make a motion. Do we need a motion to approve this or just to?
I'm just writing approved on it.
Check the distance.
It wouldn't hurt.
It wouldn't hurt to have a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the land application from
Almendinger.
Almendigers with the condition that Ed would, to make sure it's not within 1,000 feet of the lake shore.
Yeah, that it doesn't require a Ashland County permit.
Right, exactly.
Second.
And nobody has asked me to bring Ashland County permits in here for approval. Only Town of LaPointe land use permits for approval.
Right.
So that's technically not in your,
But at the same time, if we're approving a land use application, if
for
it's,
Town of LaPointe.
right, but if it's got to be filled out correctly.
Yes,
If we approve it, and one of the things on there is, are you within 1,000 feet of the lake shore? That's not checked yes or no.
Yeah, okay, well, yeah, he did not check that.
So that's why I would,
Let's send it back. I'll tell him to fill out the application completely.
I'm fine with just the contingency if
Yeah.
you
I think-
determine it's not, yeah, we don't want to, there's no reason to have,
No.
to hold it up for any reason.
Yeah, that's what you do contingent upon.
Yeah.
If it is, it is. If it isn't, it isn't. So.
Right. And if it is, then you just have to let them know. Then
Yeah.
they'll-
Well, and yeah, I
Regardless. it's-
regardless, always tell them, well,
Okay.
this needs an Ashland County permit.
Okay.
And I didn't tell them.
Yeah,
they
'cause
needed one, so-
You're the one selling the Ashland County permits.
Yeah.
You get a cut.
No.
You need a vote for.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
I abstained because I didn't get any information.
Okay.
I don't have anything about it. You gotta get that stuff to me, Ed.
A lot of stuff to scan and email.
Oh, I got what you sent lately, but I don't have anything on that. And I wish it would come a little earlier than it comes. If the agenda is set on Thursday, it would be nice to have it out Friday, the latest on Monday. So we can study it.
Review sections 14 and 15 of the zoning rewrite.
You guys have those anywhere?
Yeah.
14 is validity, which is a whole, maybe a quarter of a page.
Just cut and paste, nothing changed on that.
Nothing changed on that at all. And then 15 is complaints
Mhm.
and I have to try and refresh my memory here on 15 if there were any changes. to that. No, that's all the same thing. Just what was in the old ordinance or any changes on either of those sections.
I just have one question under.
Okay.
15 or,
Oh, go ahead.
okay, under 15.2 B, we're talking about publishing.
15 through.
The second page.
Okay, got it.
Yep, and it says a class 2 notice under chapter 985 Wisconsin statute shall be published in the Ashland Daily Press once per week for 2 consecutive weeks, blah, blah, blah. Do we have to put in the Ashland Daily Press? So if the Ashland Daily Press doesn't exist in a few years, does
Oh, yeah, no,
it
maybe,
have to be listed?
maybe change it to the local county paper, if there is one. I mean,
I just see being that specific causing issues.
Does
Potentially.
anybody know if there's an option right now other than the Ashland Daily Press?
Well, I also was wondering, is publishing a public hearing notice statutorily required, or is posting an adequate alternative? That's maybe a question for like this,
Paul might have some insight.
Messing around with this latest variance request. I'm an attorney at the Wisconsin Farms Association. She told me, why do you have to have it published? That's what our ordinance says. She said, well, that I always thought based on state ordinances. They changed that a few years ago. You, for a class 2 notice, it does not have to be published in a paper. It just has to be posted in 3 places. Because let's face it, you no longer have the daily press, now it's the weekly press. So if you screw up on a posting, the date's wrong, well, you put I can't have it published in 2 days. I have to wait another week, which means you're gonna be waiting at least another week before you're gonna have a public hearing. So it might be something you might want to check with town's attorney and just see if that's true. Brendan.
If that's the case,
what's
then
free
we-
advice?
if that's the case, we could eliminate that part out of this section
Mhm.
completely and just make it so that we post it in 3 places.
That would make it easier
Yeah,
and less expensive.
yeah,
It's expensive.
yeah. So that's something to check on.
Perfect. Thank you, Paul.
I thought it was.
You want to hold off on 15 until we find out about that issue, whether we
Yeah,
take it
yeah.
out and.
Yeah, that really needs to be looked into. If we do not have to post in a paper,
Yeah.
then we eliminate that from our ordinance.
Okay.
I like that idea.
So do you want to, accept the draft of 14 and hold off on 15?
I think that's a consensus, unless you want to.
Oh, that's fine.
Consensus, yeah.
Yep. Okay,
Don't think we need a motion on that.
commissioner updates, fire numbers,
Not much going on right now.
Hartsel expandable condominium,
Not much going on right now.
zoning rewrite. Jim's got some stuff.
Okay, you have a page with the changes for TPC consideration dated 1/7/25 with an asterisk.
With an asterisk.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't have the asterisk, but I
Well,
got
I've got-
everything else.
I
I've
think
got,
it's in your mailbox.
I've got,
Oh, I just got these this morning.
No, that's-
Yes, but Jim gave me another one that.
Yeah, it's my fault.
I've got asterisk and no asterisk.
Get rid of the no asterisk.
Don't look at this one, Ed, the one with the asterisk.
No, I think you look at the one with the S.
Okay.
With the S. That's the latest. I'm gonna wait for Gail to come back in until we go over the ones that are here. So Ellen, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay, the first one that we're looking at is section 20 definitions, number 25, dwelling accessory. After the third sentence. And the second sentence, it talks about the square footage on a accessory dwelling. And it says it shall not exceed 1,500 square feet or 65% of the square footage of the principal dwelling, whichever is less. Decks are not included in calculations. And then what we'd like to add after that is, once the square footage has been calculated and recorded on the permit, the square footage shall not be increased.
good.
Any questions on that from
Mm-mm.
EPC?
Helps with your garage problem.
That was the solution.
Yeah, I gotta think about that. I don't know if it actually does or not, but. I suppose it's better than what was in there.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything that would prevent anybody from increasing the square footage of that. I mean,
But if you have a garage in an apartment and it's all enclosed, that's the total square footage up to 1,500 square feet anyways, as it should be. So I don't know how some of these accessory dwellings have been built in the last 5-6 years that are clearly more than 1,500 square feet. My only thought is that when they were calculated at the time, and it wasn't under your watch yet, but, and not to point fingers at anyone, but maybe they just calculated the habitable space and let the garage off on its own, but that doesn't, you know. I mean, you could have a 5,000 square foot building, 1,500 square foot's livable, and the other 3,500 square feet is a garage. I don't think that's the intent of an accessory dwelling. If you wanted a standalone garage, you could. You know what I'm saying? Because then who's to say they didn't start cordoning off sections of that garage? I don't know if this wording actually prevents any of that from happening. But if you want to leave it in there and we can discuss it going down the line, we don't have to do it tonight.
okay,
You get my point?
Mhm.
But thanks for, doing this.
okay. So the next one is also under definitions. 67 is an overlay district. And so Ellen, you have that copy, don't you?
A regular tool that creates.
Okay. So that's something we just decided to put in the definitions in the ordinance so people would understand what an overlay district is.
Okay.
Any questions on that?
Mm-mm.
Okay, the next one, number 83, still in definitions, road right of way. All we added on that was the last 5 words there, the town of LaPointe, chapter 296, 294, or 394. And what chapter 394 of the town of LaPointe is streets and sidewalks. And that would tell you what the width is of the street that you live on. So if you're doing a setback from the right of way, that would help you determine where that is. Which gets us into the next definition with setbacks. I'm trying to remember if the old definitions even had setbacks in it, but you can see the new one that we have there. Okay, we did not have anything on setbacks in the old ordinance, so this will be all new language also.
I have a question on setback, Jim.
Okay,
Yeah, are you assuming that since you're talking about the dedicated roadway, a line measured from the center line and equal to 1/2 the width of said roadway proposed structure. So you're assuming that the road is centered? Because I'll tell you, we ran into an issue years ago on the Mondam Trail, for instance, just hear me out. Up there by Evie Lane where Noah built that little house on the corner, which is
Yeah,
right there on the road. And we found out that the town back whenever they did Mondam Trail, it was the 50s or 60s, because of that large gully or whatever is a ravine, whatever, there's an issue there right where that water company is. They had to move the road all the way over to the side of the road right away. So that road is not laid out in the center. So if you measured from the center of Mondam Trail in that vicinity, it puts it like into that house on the corner where Dan Shuby lives now. So I'm just pointing that out. If this is how I'm reading this, don't assume that the roads around here are in the middle of the right of way. That's all I'm saying. Because I don't want to see someone measure from the center of that road and say, holy shit, I mean, we're either way off or I got all this extra land, because it's not always the case.
Uda's toy store was like that too, by Bell Street.
Was it?
Yeah,
Yeah, Uda's Toy Store, yeah.
they put the road over her land.
Just food for thought, though.
so what's the solution?
It's not this.
I mean, that's the only survey you have to go by is where the existing road is.
Are the right of ways surveyed?
But I'm saying if we would have went by
Yes.
this language for that house down there, I don't think they could have built that house, because they had to position that house on that property at a certain, because of, I don't know, environmental topography issues, whatever. So I remember that had to have been early 2000s when we dealt with that. I'm just saying, I don't know.
The
if
road
this-
was over on my land when the surveyor came. They put the road on the land. I sold the land to Ricketzer. So they do that sometimes. So we just have to be aware.
I know the way you have it should make sense, but around here, it really, you can't say that 100% that that's gonna work. If you measure from the center road and say, yeah, it should be 33 feet or whatever.
Best,
I know what Ed's saying, that's the only
best
thing.
way
you
to
got
figure a setback is with a survey.
Right.
Do you think it's okay to leave this language in the ordinance?
Go on to the next one. I'll read it again.
Well, at
He's
least,
saying a required setback from a road right away is a distance measured from the edge of the dedicated roadway. A line measured from the center line equal to 1/2 the said roadway to the proposed structure. Setbacks or else restrictions cannot be built or maintained. I'm just saying, if you measure, in this case, down on Mondam Trail from that center line, okay, whatever. That's a 50-foot road, it's 25 feet, let's say, throw that up. From that center line to Dan Shuby's house, it's gonna be right up to the edge of his house, and then from there you measure, that's where you get your setbacks from, right?
Right.
So he couldn't have built that, That's what I'm saying.
I think we're looking at this more as something that people that are going to build can look at and at least get a start on where so they're not looking at, okay, I can put my house right up to the roadway. But they need to know that there is a setback from the right of way, not just the roadway itself.
Okay, well,
And, you know, and hopefully they'll get it surveyed and find out where it really is.
yes, I agree with that.
We got this verbiage from state statutes, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a place to start and, you know.
The state
it's-
is, right?
I know, it's,
Okay, I was just throwing it out there. 'cause
no, that's, yeah, I realize.
I've seen this before, but you guys.
The road on Sunny Slope is the same thing. Instead of how they used to go down the property line and take half of each, well, they went on one, they took the property line and put it all on one side. You know, it's the same kind of thing, but when I was told what we could do, even though the road was placed not on the center of the property lines, it was on one side, we still went with what the road was there, the center line of the existing road, and used that for the setback. So I think it's a good idea to have it in here, that at least people are aware of there is a way to measure your setbacks from a road right away. And whether it follows through that it'll be just that way on their permit or not, it can change.
Yeah, and if they change the road, that changes the road right away,
That's what I'm saying.
you know.
If they laid the road improperly, that changes.
Well, you know, but I mean, that's where the existing road is, and it's gonna be maintained that way until they change where the road is. So the road and the road right of way, even if if the new road is taking up more of somebody's property than the old road did, that's still the road right of way.
True, but the road, the road right away is established, so utilities, ditching and things like that can occur. And if someone builds right up into the ditch line, that causes issues down the
Well,
line.
and they can't because
They have done it before, but hopefully this will
Yeah.
stop them from doing it
Okay,
again.
well, if you think this is an improvement, we'll go with it.
Okay, and we'll have a
Time will
hearing
tell,
and it's gonna.
I'm just
Yeah.
pointing out. that
Yeah.
You guys don't want to listen, that's fine.
It's really hard to get language in our ordinance that's gonna cover every situation. There's gonna be all kinds of things.
I'm just pointing out a potential pothole, that's all.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, but I think it's one that we can drive over. It's not that deep.
They don't fix potholes around here.
Can
I'm
we,
glad you're in, I'm glad.
can we
you're-
put an asterisk there
I'm
and for something saying there might be an exception occasionally or something like that? Because there has been.
I think we could do that on every definition in the ordinance. And don't you agree? I mean, every one of these, there are exceptions to. And I don't feel that it's really worthwhile to do that at this point.
Okay, but we got to recognize that it might come up.
Oh, yeah, I think we realize that a lot of things are gonna come up.
I'll give it more thought, Jim. I might change my mind.
Okay,
I kind of think that, the setback from the road right away in every district except what is it, S1, the sliver, out up on Big Bay there. I mean, it's pretty gracious, which allows for, some issues with the road. I mean,
Big Bay is 66 feet wide, right? The county road.
yeah, but and the setback, in most areas is, 35 feet from the right of way. So
Yeah, well, I'm saying, but that situation up on Mondam Trail, it's pretty extreme. Take a drive up there sometime.
yeah.
yeah,
Can I ask just a word question? What's right of way and what's roadway?
well,
Is roadway the road?
Mhm.
Is the roadway the right of way?
it's the entire thing. Roadway and the right of way but the right of way is the portion of land off of the road surface that is part of the.
Okay, so if you read this, it says the line measured from the center line and equal to 1/2 of the width of said roadway. So it's saying the right of way is at the edge of the road, way I read it.
The right of way is included in the width of the roadway. if you have a
I thought right away was
if you have a
bigger than
60
roadway.
66-foot roadway, the driving surface may only be 50 feet.
Okay, so roadway is equivalent to right of way.
It's the entire portion of your driving surface, including the right of way.
Mhm.
Right of way is not the road. It's the
not
part.
driving.
No,
I thought
no, no.
I thought it was a piece of property that you put the road on.
No, the right of way is
Right of
the
way.
property beside the road for utilities,
Okay.
things like that. And
Gravel.
plowing,
Okay, so roadway is inclusive of the right of way and the road.
yes,
Fire signs.
fire signs.
Okay, thank you. I read it as road.
Okay, and then moving on to section 4.3C1A.
Good one.
After the last sentence, as I think Charlie mentioned at one of our meetings, that all members of the town plan commission shall make every effort to personally inspect the proposed site before the public hearing on the matter.
Thanks, Jim.
Perfect.
So I think we all pretty much agreed that that was a good thing to add.
That's the way it used to be.
Pardon?
That's the way it used to be. You had to go out.
Well,
Check it all
yeah,
out.
For conditional use permit.
Yeah,
This
and
is-
then it got dropped somewhere along the line.
then section 12.0, public hearings, 12.1 notice, posting and publishing, and number 2. And this one, Sue Ellen, I wrote down what was in the old
That's
ordinance
good.
and
Thank you. That's helpful.
yeah, cross that out and then added what we thought was relevant. Why they had them posted in the vicinity of the proposed change. I mean, it was like, what, you'd have someone go out and put a notice up on a tree somewhere. It didn't make any sense to keep it in there. As long as it's posted and mailed to the residents, nearby residents.
And mailing's the key.
Yeah.
Are things posted now? They're not posted by Brummers anymore, and they're not posted by Arnie's office. It's only in town hall and in the post office. Is that right?
Well, that's why we put in there that posting locations designated by the town board.
I think the library might be one too, so.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
and then the last one on this page is in section 13, which is the town plan commission. 13.7 talks about hearings. And so we added to reference section 12.0 of this ordinance, which is talking about public hearings. So just to, instead of rewriting everything from section 12 in there, we just have referenced that to get more information on a public hearing, what it involves.
Okay.
Yeah. And then for posting, we're gonna find out the legalities of that.
And if you turn over that piece of paper you have on the back, it says direct sellers, paragraph 345-3, standards G, contradicts Parks and Recreation, chapter 347, paragraph 347-4, regulated activities. And if I can find that piece of paper.
It's one we're gonna have to put on the agenda to go over.
Well, at least we can mention it today. So
Right.
people know that it's-
Yeah, the Parks and Recs ordinance prohibits commercial activities at Odoni's Beach and on the Clear Dock Lane. The direct sellers ordinance allowed commercial activity on the end of the Prairie Dock Landing. There's really, they said possibly, by permit, Joni's Beach, but Joni's Beach is strictly prohibited according to the Parks and Recs.
Yeah.
Yeah, Parks and
So
Rec
they're
says,
contradictory to each other.
Because Dockside is a business and it's on town property, yeah. it would-
right,
Right.
so that might be an easier fix, because we can always add that to the rec definition.
Yeah,
But the direct seller says the town board shall have the right to enter an agreement to allow direct sellers or other merchants to conduct business on town property regardless of the zoning district designation. So one says you can't do it and the other says you can't, the town board can allow it.
right.
Right. Well,
We'll
and
have to come up with some recommendation to the town board. I mean, my first thought was just give this to the town board because it's their chapters and their resolutions, not ours, but I think they just kick it back to us anyway. So we need to come up with some language to rectify this.
Sure. We're a smart group, we'll come up with.
well, let me see the Parks and Recs one.
You want the whole thing or just, I wrote out what the paragraphs.
Only the simplest solution of that is under commercial activities, if no commercial activity will be done. Known as Jones Beach, whatever, and that's fine, keep that in there. The only exceptions from the dock are these people, we add dockside.
Yep.
To that, and then
That would be the easiest thing.
Yeah, and it's done.
Well, that part's done. But yet,
Maybe just leave it so they can't do any commercial activities on Jones Beach. I mean,
You got the marathon. and-
because
they're done with the especially event permits.
Mhm.
but direct seller ordinance says the town board shall have the right to enter an agreement to allow direct sellers
Snow comes.
on town property.
Right. Maybe throw the exemption up there, except Joni's Beach. But with the special event permit, then they're allowed to do whatever, but they're just excluding Joni's Beach so that nobody can set up a vending thing, and rent a spot, kind of like what Riley and them wanted to do with the sauna.
I think that's because years ago, some people pulled in there and were doing kayak tours out of there.
Yeah, I remember.
Be
So you think we should
Release with the
just
camp.
leave the direct sellers ordinance alone and just add dockside to the Parks and Recs?
I think that's a simple
Maybe
solution.
as simple as that, yeah.
Can we make that recommendation to the town board now?
It's not on our.
It's not on our agenda, so we really can't do it
No.
till next meeting.
We can put it on the future agenda items for next month, yeah.
Okay.
Along with the public hearing minutes to be approved, draft minutes to be approved.
From Bob Needs, public hearing back on the 4th of December. Right.
We had that meeting to discuss it afterwards, and the minutes from that meeting were
Yeah.
on the agenda to approve. But we did not have the public hearing meeting draft minutes on the agenda. So we'll try and remember to put that on next month's.
Anything else on zoning rewrite?
Well, we're continue working on it and we're looking at section 16 now, which is turning out to be a lot of fun.
Yes.
So,
What is that? What's 16?
well, it's the matrix and setbacks and
We're going to have more changes to bring in on other sections as we work on this. We've added an affordable AH1 zone to our section 3 of zoning districts. And then, of course, the MU1 with the definitions and stuff. The AH is affordable housing zone, or if they designate a parcel for us affordable housing, we can set up a different set of rules as far as density and things like that for the affordable housing zone. That the draft language that we came up with is going in front of the Affordable Housing Committee to get their input.
We ready for comprehensive plan?
I got one more thing on zoning rewrite. Paul Brummer,
Ouch.
we sent section 10 to the zoning board of appeal for them to review. Have they had time to do that yet?
From what I'll keep this as short as I can. I had a one-page list of questions, concerns I had about the section, but no one else wanted to go into it. They wanted to make certain that what the proposed changes were versus the existing changes. They wanted the proposed additions and italics. They wanted what's taken out struck and through. If I recall, Ed did that. There's like 3 words in the whole thing. That was changed. As far as I know, the other board members have it. Was planning on sitting down with whomever's on this rewrite committee, going over my stuff, my concerns and questions. And then maybe if it's tweaked again, go back to the zoning board of appeals, have a meeting and just give them a few weeks' time to review the proposed changes and see if there's anything else that has to get done.
Okay,
Is that sufficient?
I think most of the issues that you had on that one sheet of paper were addressed in the copy we gave you.
Okay. All I did is, I was waiting to meet with whatever the committee is, and then go through this, because what Ed handed us, with the additions and italics and the.
Okay, that's the copy we gave you did have that crossed out
Okay,
and italicized.
okay.
So,
Because from what I was told is that there's only like 2 or 3 words that were even added.
right, it was mostly getting the difference between the town board and the zoning board of appeals, the 2 boards. The wording board was,
That was part of it, but I had a few other questions in there. I can't remember them off the top of my head.
okay. If you would look at that section 10 revision that we gave you, and if you could check with the other members of the ZBA and let us know if anything needs to be changed in the revisions that we gave you.
I can, the only thing I have, I don't want this to be a walking quorum. If you catch my drift.
I do. Did we give those sections to all the zoning board of appeals members?
I put them in every box.
Okay. Can you just contact them and see if they have any issues? You don't have to get together. You could just, each person could come back to you. You're the chairman of the board, correct?
Correct.
So if they could come back to you with any problems they have with it, and you could compile it and then let us know.
That's okay with you, but I'll tell you, if someone says, well, I want this change, and have a whole slew of stuff. I feel much more comfortable doing it at a meeting rather than if someone says, yeah, I have no problem with it, that's one thing, but. if
Well,
someone-
let's wait and see. And
Okay.
if there are a lot of issues, we'll deal with that, but,
Okay.
Yeah,
I can
and then
certainly call people.
okay.
they should just write their issues out, give it to the work group so that we can work on it.
Yeah, that'd work. They can give to Paul and he can compile them and let him
Yeah.
get them all together. Okay, that'd be great. Thank you, Paul.
Comprehensive plan.
Yeah, Dale and I haven't met really since we made that, drafted that article for the Gazette on camping and camping units. So maybe we just need some direction from the rest of the commission on what do you want us to concentrate on next? Is there anything else that we should be doing for the following Gazette perhaps? I don't know.
Well, I do have a item that I think we need to educate on our sign ordinance. In the special events, there's a special event permit that allows everybody that does events to put signs all over. And say we have an artist that wants an opening weekend. And it's illegal to put the signs all over the street to advertise this unless they get a special event permit for that weekend, saying that they're going to have an open gallery. And then they can put their signs out on the street pointing at their thing. that makes it legal for them to do that. But we need to come up with some language in the Gazette to educate these artists or whomever it is that wants to do this, so that they know the proper procedures to be able to put them signs up.
That could be doable, probably pretty short.
You want to meet sometime then?
Don't you?
Yeah. When are you?
Thursdays are no longer any good for me, but Fridays are.
Friday there?
Yeah.
I can't meet this Friday, but maybe we can
Yeah, just
shoot a text or an email and find out what day works
And,
for you.
you know, if you come up with some. I'm not very good at coming up with language for letters and things like that, but if you come up with something, just shoot it to me. You know, and then, you know, I can show you, and, you know, we can discuss, if there's.
Like we just give examples of
Yeah,
what an event is and what the permit needed is and what they can do and what they.
Yeah,
You know, and what they can do within the premise of the ordinance
Yeah.
as far as off-premise directionary signs, because that's
right.
basically what it
And
is.
that's why the special event permit, which isn't approved, but each one is approved by the town board.
Yeah.
Application needs to be filled out, and if it's approved, then they can put the signs out for their special event, and they have to, you know.
Temporary basis.
Right, they have to come down on Mondays, and that's in the.
And the number of special events, they should also be spelled out somehow.
Right.
Otherwise, somebody's gonna say, I've got one every day, and then it's.
No, it's spelled out for specific weekend, they want to do it. And, you know.
What's the fee associated with a
I
special
think
event?
it's $125, I'm not for sure.
Is there a special event permit form right now?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
you might want to put that in the article, even print that form out, so people know what's required. Depending on, I don't know how big it is.
Depending on how much room Evan has in the.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, well, it doesn't have to be full scale. You know, it can be sized down.
Yeah.
But it's on the town's website, and I'm pretty sure it's up in the kiosk there too.
Well, I think
Yeah.
we should invite everybody to town hall with a cup of coffee to go through the kiosk with all the forms.
It's an adventure.
Yeah.
Is it almost chicken night?
Future agenda items and
Future agenda items?
We've got to put the minutes for the public hearing meets. And
Yeah, Parks and Rec.
yeah.
Conflict.
yeah.
So.
I think you're talking about refining signs and putting parameters on what's acceptable and what is not. So there isn't a sign every 10 feet for the same thing.
Well, whatever Dale and I come up with, obviously everyone else on the commission and Ed will get a chance to look at it.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Sue.
And we'll put the same disclaimer that says
We're not even
this
into,
ordinance is under review.
we're not even in the draft stage yet, so stay tuned, Sue Ellen.
Okay.
Stay out of the snowbank.
Oh, yeah, well, they fall apart when it's an inch around here.
Send us some.
Okay.
Yeah,
we
that's
need-
true.
But we need chapter 205 on the agenda for anything, or is that still?
It needs to get on the town board agenda eventually, but we're waiting. That's our new TA that is responsible for that.
And just the regular stuff under commissioner updates will be in there. We'll have some. Oh, if we'll have anything, we might have some revisions on section 3.
But we can do that in the zoning rewrite and updates. We don't get it on the agenda.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
The main thing is this meets public hearing and the direct seller's conflict. Everything else can be a work in progress.
As it comes.
Okay.
Extended public comment, less than 5 minutes. Paul,
Question, Jim, if I tell the BOA members 2, 3, 4 weeks to look this over and get any questions or concerns back to Ed or myself, is that sufficient? Like, if you want me to just give them the Ed then? Is that okay, Ed? All right. And the other thing was I have to ask, well, how much snow did you get out east?
Up here? Oh, I don't know, an inch and a half, 2 inches maybe.
How much of a snowbank?
Yeah, but Washington stops.
I thought it was gonna be like Washington DC with a whole foot, and they closed the whole city down.
When's our next meeting then, guys?
I've got February 5th
Yeah,
at 4:30,
February
if that
5th.
looks good.
Okay,
Yeah,
sounds good. February 5th.
all right,
We'll be on an ice road by then, right?
Hope so.
Maybe.
all right, we're adjourned, thank you.
5:35.
Bye, Mr. Wellens.